Can we hear me at the back? Yep, fantastic. You've got pledge cards, you've got workshops, it's like the Moonies, it's crazy. Let's start off by talking about Star Wars. Hands up who's seen Star Wars? The original, like episode 4, the original Star Wars. Okay, who are the first 2 characters we see in Star Wars? Come on, think hard. Yeah, and? Exactly, right. So, quick lesson, who said what? Yes, there we go. You've earned your fee just now. That's fantastic. Why? Why do we start with C-3PO? Quick lesson in dramatic theory. These are the cipher characters. Okay, so a cipher character in drama is a character who's going to hold your hand as you go into this new universe. In literal case, in the case of Star Wars, right? They're the character that guides the audience through and explains things. If you ever watch horror films, there's usually an old man or an old woman who turns up at the beginning of the film and says, "You don't want to live in that house at the end of the road. The family that lived there burned to death." That's a cipher character. They're explaining how things are going to work, okay? R2-D2 and C-3PO. In C-3PO's case, quite literally a cipher character. He's deciphering what R2-D2 is saying. Ignore the droids. Who's the next major character we see in Star Wars? Think hard, come on. No, out, now, that's it. Who said, go on, another? No, not Darth Vader. No, Princess Leia, exactly, Princess Leia. And then we see Darth Vader, of course. Okay, so why do we start with Princess Leia and Darth Vader? There's plenty of other characters you can have. There's Luke Skywalker, there's Obi-Wan Kenobi, there's Han Solo. All of those characters, though, okay, Yoda and all those guys, they're the hero characters. They're the hero set, okay? There is no point bringing in a hero to a drama until the hero's got something to do. It's very rare you watch a film and for the first hour the hero's going, "Well, I've done the ironing, I've paired my socks, what now?" You have to start with something for the hero to do. And that's why you start with Princess Leia and Darth Vader, a victim and a villain. Someone to love, someone to hate. Very primal human emotions. And this is what makes a story. All the best stories have a victim and a villain involved in them. Okay? Now, this is interesting for me as a journalist because what we do as journalists, we tell stories. That's what we do. Do you ever wonder why we call them news stories? It's not the only word we could use. We call them stories because we make them up, yes. A heckle I've heard many times before. We call them stories because what we're trying to do is we're trying to tell a story, trying to tell a narrative. We're trying to give a beginning, a middle, and an end. And all of the best stories have a victim and a villain. And for anyone who's seen the recent select committees, I think we're in no doubt as to who our current stock of villains might be. Discuss. So, what's interesting, I mean, listen, you may disagree with this, and I know that there are issues with how journalists tell stories and this drive to put things into a narrative that journalists have, right? I'm not saying that you should like it. I'm not saying that it's the right thing to do. But for the moment, folks, that's how it works, okay? There are narratives, there are stories, we tell them, and they have victims and villains if they're good, compelling stories. So when I started covering tech, I thought to myself, what's the story? What do I want to cover here? What's really going on? I had a moment of epiphany when I walked past, I think it was Dixon's or Curry's, one of the big high street retailers, and there'd been a power cut. Right? So imagine the shop window. It's a massive shop window. It's got every television, every laptop, every mobile phone, and they're all black. And I suddenly looked and thought, they're all the same. They're all the same. And you've got to realize this was the moment in time when we were getting obsessive about the Apple product launches. You know, Steve Jobs would come on stage holding up the latest gadget. We're obsessed with all these product launches. And I just looked and thought, it's not about the device. The device is just a black square. What we're actually obsessed with isn't the device. What we're obsessed with is what's beyond the device, what the device gives us access to. The conduit is the device. What's really important is the personal data. It's the stuff on the other side. That's what I've got to turn into a story. The problem is, folks, in the personal data story, there are no people, right? It's data. Well, what is personal? How do I represent that? Who suffers? Who's the victim here? Who am I going to depict? Who actually am I going to follow? Whose journey am I going to follow? How do I tell this as a story with people? So I did something quite unusual for a journalist. I made one up. I invented a project for Channel 4 News called The Data Baby. Is my screen actually... I thought something was missing. Come on, there we go. So I made a project called Data Baby. What we did was we invented an online personality. We created an entire persona online. I've got, hopefully, a quick video which should explain this to you now.
My name is Rebecca Taylor. I am 27 years old. You can find me on Facebook and see me on Twitter. Online, I am everywhere. In reality, I do not exist.
That is Rebecca Taylor. We had all sorts of fun with Rebecca Taylor. We invented a Twitter account for her, a Facebook account with her. We got her a job. There's a company actually hired her and put out a press release saying, we've hired Rebecca Taylor. It was fantastic. So we started off on the journey. We started putting together pieces. We hacked into students' phones. These are children's phones. We did a whole piece about apps and how if you have an app that's advertiser funded, the banner in the app has the same permissions as the app. So we got a whole bunch of kids playing their favorite apps, but we were the advertiser, so we got access to all their personal information. We, of course, had the children's permission and their parents' permission for that one. We got students. We ran a simple Wi-Fi attack. We managed to get into students' Yahoo inboxes, again, with their permission, and we managed to track them using their Wi-Fi connections around the world. We went to a major high street retailer who will remain nameless, and we bought second-hand phones, which had apparently been wiped. But of course what they've done is hit the factory reset button, which, as you guys should probably know, doesn't actually wipe the phone. We got some very, very interesting results from that, and we won a clutch of awards into the bargain. My bosses were very, very happy with the Data Baby project. Okay, we got nominated for an RTS. That's pretty good for a project that's running less than a year, right? We did really well. Yay! For me, abject failure. This project completely failed, because for me, the point of doing this, the point of inventing a person, was to have something petri dished, to have a little animal in a cage, and every bit of personal data that went off that person out into the ether and back, I wanted to know where it went. I wanted to know who got it, what they did with it, and how it came back. I wanted to drop a barium trace into the personal data system. That's what I wanted to do, and it didn't work. And I mulled a lot on this, and I think one of the reasons it didn't work is because Rebecca Taylor isn't a real person. I made her up. So no matter how good we got, no matter how genuine it was, no matter how realistic we tried to make it, it's very difficult for the audience to empathize with that character, because that character is not a real person, and we're not playing with real data, okay? Which is when I had a brainwave. I decided that I would create a stage show, and I would try and get real people's data, because that's the only way it's going to work, if you go toe-to-toe with people. We created a stage show called The Secret Life of Your Mobile Phone. The way it works is we get an audience of people, much like this one, probably a bit less technically savvy. We run what's called a karma attack, a Wi-Fi attack. Familiar with a karma attack? Hands up if you've heard of this. No, really? Wow, okay, well, you fake the Wi-Fi network names. So if you're trying to connect to Tom's home Wi-Fi, we create a network called Tom's home Wi-Fi. Your phone connects because it thinks you're at home, and all of your traffic goes through our laptop. We tell the audience what we're going to do before we do it. We always get permission for these things. What we then do is we use a program called Wireshark to track where the data goes, which companies get it, and where it goes in the world. Other packet inspection technologies are available. The reason I like Wireshark is it's so simple, even a journalist can use it. And I'm hopefully going to demo that for you now. So I'm going to try the demonstration. Hands up if you've done a live tech demo in front of an audience before. Right, okay. So you all know the procedure. The night before in your hotel room, you face towards Mountain View, and you set fire to a whole bunch of USB sticks, and you just pray that the thing's going to work. So, no promises, but hopefully this will make sense. And what I'm going to need is a volunteer for this. Now, before we get asking for the volunteer, I want to make clear, we will not be looking at your photographs. We will certainly not be looking at your passwords. It's all going to be raw data, and what we're going to do is trace that raw data as it makes its way through the world. So on that basis, do we have somebody who'd like to see where their phone's data is going, who'd like to get inside the secret life of their phone? Do we have a volunteer? Go on, somebody be brave. There we go, fantastic. What's your name, sir? Adam. Round of applause for Adam. There we go. All right, Adam, do you have a phone? Yeah. Brilliant, we're past the first hurdle. Okay, do you have Wi-Fi on your phone? Yes. Fantastic. Can you switch it on? Yes. Great. BCS member, gold standard. Right, okay, great. I'll guide you through the rest of it, don't worry. Okay, so you will find hopefully a network called Geoff's Friendly Network. Yeah. Okay. Connect to Geoff's Friendly Network. Unsurprisingly, no password is required. Yep, you connected, you're in. All right, okay. So I want you to pick a website, any website. Now, just a quick thought, Adam. If you were tempted to explore internet pornography, now would not be the time to be doing that, okay? A generic website, maybe Channel 4 News. So what we see going up the screen is Adam's data, right? Now, what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and gather some data from Adam. I'm going to try and work out where it went, who gets it, and start playing about with that. Exactly what we do in the show. Now, obviously, for the rest of us, so Adam, your task over the next 6 or 7 hours is to just get busy. I want you to go to as many websites as possible. I want you to open as many apps as possible. Just generate as much data for us. But you look at your screen. Look, come on, do it now. Do it. Yes, I know. They all do. So, one option for the rest of us now is to watch Adam as he pounds away at the screen of his phone. But for those of you with kids, that'll seem a bit like every mealtime. So, I thought instead we could leave Adam to it, and I could tell you a little bit more about why I think people are obsessed with this and why people are interested in it. Because we have no shortage of audience for this show. People are really interested in it. The reason I got interested in it, the reason it came about, really was 2 things. Number one, very cynically, as I said, we got nominated for a Royal Television Society Award. To enter, you need to have 3 pieces of work. And because the Data Baby was quite new, we only had 2. So I had to get another one quick to get the deadline for the award. And I thought, well, I don't really have a story. But we've been working with a company called MWR Info Security, who've been working with us on the Data Baby project. They'd come up with a little Raspberry Pi box that sat between the Data Baby's phone and the internet. And they were doing exactly what I'm doing now to Adam. They were gathering the information, trying to work out where it all went. Frankly, I thought that was pretty thin pickings for a story. But, I thought, well, So we made it into a story, and we put it out. And do you know what? People were really interested. I got loads of really great feedback from that story. Because people went, I knew it. I knew the phone was doing something. Because when I'm not using it, the battery still runs out. There was this obsession about it. And then the other thing was we went to Latitude Music Festival. Heard of Latitude Music Festival? It's basically it's the most middle class music festival. It's like Glastonbury with ciabatta. That's effectively Latitude. And they said, look, we wanted to talk about this Data Baby project. I thought, well, that's fine. What's the deal? And they said, well, you're in the literature tent at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning. So how am I going to get a whole bunch of hungover, sunburned festival goers to give a damn about personal data? So I Wiresharked my mobile phone. I went along and I said, look, you want personal data? Let's have a look at it. This is it. And you can see it on the screen. And people were fascinated. Some of them even woke up. And they looked, and they said, oh, can you do that for our phones? And I thought, yes, I can. And the idea for the stage show was born. We have taken this thing on the road. So basically, we've done the Labour Party conference. We've done the Conservative Party conference for balance. We've done Latitude, as I say, and we did the Hay Literature Festival. A lot of people at Hay Literature Festival, because it skews to that age, didn't have smartphones. But let's skip over that. And what's fascinating is you're bringing people face to face with it. No one cares, folks, about personal data. I'll be honest with you. People care about people. They only care about their own data, their own lives. And if you bring them toe-to-toe with their own data, if you can show them the websites they are visiting, if you can show them the services, the companies that are getting their data, then they start to wake up to it. In order to do that, as I say, you need the kind of software that we're going to have a look at now. So I think we can go back to Adam. You can stop surfing now. Fantastic. Let's have a quick look. So let's stop that now. So here we go, Adam. This is your data. Another television show that will never get made. So each line on this screen represents a little chunk, a little bit of data that's gone from Adam's phone out to the internet and back again. Although the more savvy of you know, some of this is just the phone looking for the nearest Wi-Fi network and so on. So how many packets of information do we think Adam got through in the period of time? Can we guess? Anybody guess? 30,000? Any higher? 100,000. Do you know what's really interesting? When we do this for the public, the highest guesses people come out with are 10,000. They cannot conceive that the phone would give out more packets of data than that. And for Adam, we've got 30,306. Round of applause for Adam. Very well done. Superb. Now, the interesting thing, and as I say, one of the reasons I love the package is because you can do things very easily. So the question is, who got the information? Which companies got hold of this information? You can bring up a handy little list, and sure enough, there's a few familiar faces. Apple Incorporated, Facebook Incorporated. This one intrigues me. The Rubicon Project Incorporated. Who the hell are the Rubicon Project Incorporated? Sounds like a sci-fi film. Adam, do you know who the Rubicon Project Incorporated is? Right. What do you... You sent, what, 1,752 packets of information to them. Shouldn't you know who these people are? The other great thing about Wireshark, which is brilliant, is you can map where the information goes. Simple key you press, and it will bring up, depending on the Wi-Fi speed, there we go. There's a map of everywhere Adam's data went in the world. And you can zoom in. What's the one in, where's that? Let's have a look at that. Vienna. Adam, little trip to... Are you familiar with the data protection legislation of Austria? No, even the Austrians aren't familiar with the data protection legislation of Austria. We have no idea, and yet you send all of this information over there. I find this fascinating, and as I say, there is no shortage of fascination among the public about it either. Now, be honest with me, be brutally honest, put your hand up if what I did with Adam surprised you. Okay, keep your hands up. Have a look around, because when I do this for the general public, the proportion of hands down to the proportion of hands up is exactly the reverse. Right? You guys all know this, and I know that. I knew I wasn't going to surprise you with this. That wasn't the point. The point is when I do this for the public, they are shocked because they don't know it's happening. You know it's happening, and whether you're comfortable with it or not, at least you know. The public, they're way down the track from you. They have no idea. They buy these devices, they use these services, and they have no idea how that system works. So let's go back to the beginning and talk about the story, about the narrative. For me, the victim in this situation is pretty clear. It's the ordinary schmo who goes out, buys a phone, and right out the box, that phone's having conversations with companies he's never heard of in countries he has no idea he was communicating with, and that is a completely unknown thing to him. That doesn't strike me as an informed consumer. It certainly doesn't strike me as a fair deal. And let's talk about the hero and the villain in this situation, because that's the IT industry, isn't it? And I think we're at a really interesting moment with the public. We're in this wobbly situation where the public's not entirely sure whether the IT industry in this context is the hero or the villain. A lot of the time, it seems quite heroic, you know? Luke Skywalker comes in with his lightsaber and puts all your photographs in order and, you know, sorts out your social networks, and it's all great. And then you discover that for a certain period of time, for a small group of people, Facebook was screwing with what they saw on their timeline as a psychological experiment. And the public goes, what the heck? Well, is he Darth Vader now then? We're at this slightly interesting moment in time where people are trying to make up their minds whether you're the hero or the villain. Okay, and what I think you need to bear in mind is the more you keep people in the dark, the more they will view you as the dark side. And that, I think, is enough Star Wars quotes for any one talk. So that's it for me. Thank you very much indeed. Good night.